more Let's say it's not my next great match.
Call the meeting to order, and we'll do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call.
Mr. Craig, Mr. Mount,
Here.
Mr. Molitor,
Here.
Ms. Curry, Mr. Whitmore, Mr. Voss,
Here.
Mr. Granger,
Present.
Mr. Downey,
Present.
Mr. Burke.
Here. How many do we need for a? 4. Yeah. All right. So, I guess there's one modification to the meeting agenda, which is that G sub B, Alliance Capital Management is going to introduce themselves and intersect it, or we'll bring it into the agenda there. Is there any other modifications to the agenda that needs to be made?
No, sir.
Make it a motion.
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. And let's see. Approval of the minutes. So the rest of the minutes came out by email. Are they attached? Okay. So are there any changes or modifications to last month's meeting?
I move to approve as written.
All right, Al, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, and that brings us to action items. Approval of Global Aviation Management Corporation hangar lease agreement for the Airport Authority owned facility located at 7030 Central Lane at Space Coast Regional Airport. Kevin?
Yes, sir. So we do have aeronautical lease agreement with Global Aviation Management. They've been a tenant in good standing on the Center Lane property since 2015. I guess they've actually been here before that. They were at the VAC building in 2014. I think everyone's familiar with them. They basically maintain and restore aircraft and helicopters. The material terms of the ground or the lease agreement are 3 years with no extensions or options. In the agreement, there is a 60-day option to cancel from either side, which is kind of standard. The current annual rent they're paying right now is $36,940 a year. The year one annual rent that they're moving to is $45,595. Year two annual rent is $56,500. And then year three annual rent is $70,000. Basically escalating them up to fair market value. And that's what we negotiated with them. It's been a real pleasure to work with Doug Matthews. I don't know if y'all again know him pretty well, but we're recommending approval. May I answer any questions? Move to approve.
I'll second. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Approval of FB. Approval of Space Coast Regional Airport for Spaceport official name change to Exploration Spaceport.
Yes,
So
sir.
we're going to try to
Approve it tonight. So I talked to Chairman Craig. He's 100% behind the name change and the board approving it tonight. Jessica as well is 100% behind it, and Brad, I don't know if Brad's on the call. So we've talked about this for about a year now. It's on brand, it's on thing for the community, and I think it'll look good on a hat.
Move to approve the name.
second. I'll second it. Sir. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approved. Motion carries.
When did the hats come?
tomorrow.
I'm not kidding. What are they gonna get here?
We gotta get pens for everybody else. Not those, yeah.
All right. That takes us to item C or FC, approval of the board 2023 meeting schedule.
So 'tis the season. In your packets, you have two versions of a board schedule for next year. The first one is basically there's one that's a hybrid that we have a combined meeting, basically excluding November, and we have a combined meeting for December, or we stick with our regular schedule.
I move that we stick with the regular schedule.
Second, I can read.
Sir. Any other discussion?
Yeah, might as well schedule it because we can always during the year, as it gets close, if we feel like it. So at least advertise it.
So we're gonna have 12 meetings next year.
Everyone's still good with the 5 p.m.?
Yes.
So you were looking into another location, is that still in the lead?
Yeah, it's still kind of in the works. We were looking at District 1 meeting room over there, so they're still kind of figuring that out. But I think at this point, we'll just stick with where we're at and see what happens.
We have a motion.
You do have.
You do.
Yes, second.
Second. Oh, okay.
They have to fill it around, yes.
Nice. You're right, we did do that. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Approval of invoices. F. So, D.
For the record, Justin Hopman, Deputy Director of Operations and Maintenance. Got a bunch of invoices today, starting with Uggadun, the AWAS project for AFCON, $1,934.10. The Space Coast Regional Fuel Farm relocation project for AFCON, $6,245.62. The air traffic control tower design, AFCON, $27,916.43. For the VAC ramp, Michael Baker requested $9,628.93. And then request number 12 for the same project, $22,562.41. For the additional grant on the same project for the taxi lane, request 11 for Michael Baker, $11,153.11. And request number 12, $12,899.31. Then on to Merritt Island, the AWAS for AFCON, tab number 7, $3,848.95. For the corporate hangar project, request order 9 is actually credit for $12,190.24. And then for the NASI project, request 15 for Michael Baker, $25,332.05. And request 16 for the NASI project for Michael Baker, $10,906.70.
Need to recommend approval of all these.
Yes, please.
Like to pay back. Yeah.
No, don't make Christie come to the podium, please.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the invoices?
That's subdivision.
Al,
I'll second it.
Mr. Roger. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, takes us to item G, Deputy Director of Operations and Maintenance report. Item A, capital improvement projects update.
All right, for the legacy projects. Early 927, everyone knows the paving's done, the striping's done. We're still waiting on the contractor to give us a bid for the additional drainage work that was kind of thrown into the project at the last minute. So we should have something hopefully mid-January so we can get that done. The VAC ramp is pretty much done. They came and did the final markings on Monday. There's a few punch list items. The VAC is using it right now. They're actually going to host a corporate party there this weekend on Saturday. With the big tip. Corporate hangar project. We were Permitting is still ongoing. We should be getting something back. It's getting to the end of 30 days with the county, so we should have something any day now. Just got the contract today, so we're gonna get that to C&D hopefully tomorrow. And the building's still on schedule for delivery for January 11th,
We did request the additional FDOT funding.
and it was given to us. Well, it's in process. The EA for Merritt Island is still ongoing. No real change to that. The NASI project is moving along now. It's the contractor is estimated to have about 90 work days left for the project to be complete. The drainage work is ongoing right now. They've almost finished the pipe installation. They're moved to the lift station and finish that. There's a lot of fence work going on right now too, to move it around when they're rebuilding the berm. But that is actually moving. New projects, the AWASs at both Merritt Island and Arthur Dunn, bids came back last week. AvCon is reviewing the bids right now, and we'll make a recommendation very soon to award contract.
Will one bidder win both contracts, or will it just be
2 for 1. The control tower project design is still underway. We're still waiting to hear back if we get any money for the bill grant. I think that gets announced in January. So
Oh, looks like they're actually pushing it back to spring now. Next spring.
So we got a little bit of time. Hopefully we'll get some money. Fuel farm design is pretty much done. We're just working with the state on getting money to do construction. And then the Challenger Drive extension design, I guess I got initial approval with the North Brevard Economic Development Zone. It's got to go back next month for
Just working on the specifics for the grant.
final. Quick operations update. Arthur Dunn for November average 44 a day, Space Coast Regional 81, and Merritt Island 204 a day. Okay.
Yes, sir. On the NASI project, are they going to, they're gonna be repaving the parking lot, will they, right, when they're done?
The parking lot in front of the Beacon, that is not in the project. What we talked about that is in the-
We're gonna have to do something with that.
it's-
Yeah, well, the rest of the parking lot's got too, that is now.
Yeah.
Third
Yeah.
class versus that's what-
Yeah, we're gonna see when they mobilize, get a price. I mean, it's not, the parking lot's not big at all, so it wouldn't take much. We're gonna look at to the entrance road to on the south side.
Justin? Are you noticing any kind of a decline in the operations at State Space Coast or Arthur Dunn?
Here last month was kind of low for some reason. Arthur Dunn is kind of running steady, and of course, Merritt Island is
Crazy.
keep going up.
Yeah, but, I'm just wondering if with price, gas, cost of living and everything else, if flying hours are starting to drop in the area.
Yeah, definitely. Just this airport has slowed down a little bit, but not down south.
Thank you, sir. Then we're going to interject Alliance Capital Management
Yeah, Oscar.
and talk to us. Tell us what you plan.
Oscar makes his way to the podium, that long walk he had. I've had the pleasure of working with Oscar and his wife Yvette for probably about 15 years now, so it's been a real pleasure. I'm happy that they're working with us here at Brevard County. So he's going to give us an intro to what they want to do here at Space Coast Regional Airport.
Thank you very much, Kevin. It's to be here in front of the board. I'm Oscar Garcia, Chairman and CEO of Interflight Global Corporation. We're a 30-year-old consulting and advisory firm to capital investors in aerospace and aviation. And today I'm representing two real estate development groups, the Alliance Capital Management Group and the Embry Group. And on the line, I believe I have the managing partner of Alliance Capital, Bruno Duarte. Are you on the line, Bruno?
I'm here, Oscar.
Thank you for joining us.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we hear you loud and clear. Thanks for being here. How much time do we have, Kevin?
Probably 10 minutes.
We have about 10 minutes. So maybe, Bruno, if you want to say a couple of words about ACMG, and then I'll just show a couple of slides with the rendering. So the two corporate hangars.
Looks like the 90s.
The clock is ticking. So go ahead, Bruno, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, apologies I couldn't be there in person, but it's a pleasure to be here with you all. I'm the managing partner and CEO at Alliance Capital Management Group. We are a capital markets company / developers focused on the a commercial built-to-suit real estate market. We also, for the execution of our projects, we also use the Embry Group for the execution of these projects. I'll let them introduce themselves here shortly, but right now, our focus is on the, as I said, the built-to-suit real estate market. Anything from industrial to retail to medical, etc. Currently we have 3 funds, running concurrently right now, and we're starting the 4th one. So the good thing is, although we procure, equity and debt through our relationships, we don't have to go out there and, get the capital, for projects like this. We already have the funds running right now. So with that said, we started back in 2009. We have about $500 million in total asset value, and over just a little over 70 projects. Would that be a good time now, Oscar, to introduce Embry as well?
Yes, that'll be perfect. I do want to introduce Philip, who is the second partner behind the project. Go ahead.
Perfect. I believe we have Philip, Dave, Nicholas, and Steve.
Yeah, thank you for the team. For the time we have, Philip, you could say a few words about Embry and the team. I'd like to keep it within the time constraint. Go ahead.
Well, this is Dave Farmer. I'll jump in there. We've been down to the airport. We've seen the site. We're really excited about supporting this project and looking forward to working with everybody on this project. I think Philip was going to jump in there.
Thank you.
Well, really, I have nothing much to add. I'm here. I'm sporting a sinus infection from Texas. So again, my apologies for not being able to be there in person. We're excited about this opportunity. I'm president and CEO of Embry Development Group, and we've been developing around the country for over 3 decades now. Have hundreds of projects under our belt, and our sister construction company has been in business. I guess we're going on 43 years and has literally tens of thousands of projects under their belt. So collectively, as Embry Group of companies, we're typically in 40 plus states every year, have had the opportunity to develop and construct many hundreds of projects in Florida. And again, we're excited to be part of this team and have the opportunity to service the Titusville community in this way.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you very much. And also we have here Mark Jensen from Burns McDonnell, who is created the renderings. You see, those are the 2 large hangars that we're envisioning. There could be 3 of them on the 5-acre lot. We have a ground lease for 30 years with 2 extensions almost finished. We were hoping to have it today. We'll have it next month. And Mark, if you want to say a couple of words.
Sure. Speechless.
No, you're not.
So Burns McDonnell, we're a aviation design construction firm based in Kansas City, but we have a good presence in Central Florida, Melbourne, Orlando, and we're very excited to work with the group. Some really nice hangars, good size hangars, especially for this area, like a little larger than the normal corporate sized hangar. So it's an exciting project for us.
Thank you.
Whole team.
Thank you, Mark. IAG is acting as an advisor to Alliance, and we have for the last 5 years or so done market studies, and we realize there's a demand pool for this type of hangars, this type of capacity with some of the larger aircraft operators who are here frequently in support of the space industry. So the minimum project is about $15 million for 2 large hangars, could be 3 or a larger one up to 100,000 square feet. Ideally, we plan to build starting second quarter of 23 at the latest third quarter and opening fourth quarter of 2024 next to the Space Coast FBO. And we plan on working very closely with the FBO services. So we have already lined up a pipeline of potential tenants with aircraft up to Boeing business jets, like the rendering you see there. So the relationships are built and the demand we believe is there. So that's what I wanted to present today. Hopefully next month we'll have the lease for your approval. And we look forward to answering any questions or being available to you for any questions you might have. This presentation has a number of supporting slides on the financial and capabilities of the team that you can look after the meeting, as well as our firm as advisors. I'd like to finish and say that we're looking at this as a multi-phase potential development for us. What we are looking at the area 1, but we are looking at possible for more areas for hangar development depending on demand. So that's my presentation, and thank you, Kevin, and thank you, Adam, for the work with our attorneys. We're almost there, but it's always something that needs to be dotted or a T that needs to be crossed. So for January, hopefully we'll have a list that you might consider for approval.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
So I saw the slide with some potential customers. Obviously, you guys must have a pretty good marketing and research department. Maybe can you kind of, here on the board, all we do is kind of guess and say, well, we know there's going to be a lot of customers here, and growth here in the future and things like that. Is there anything you can share with us that you guys have found or that you see here happening here at this airport?
Yes, so the market research has a lot to do with the space industry, commercial space industry. And in the last 5 or 8 years, if you follow the economic development in that industry in this area, you would not be surprised to hear in aerospace world, this area is known as Silicon Valley East of space. And what that means is that we are having a percentage of the total space industry, depending on who you ask, it's a $500 billion industry. Percentage of that is moving here to the neighborhood. So we've been tracking aircraft movements, executive transportation for decision makers at the Cape, at the Air Force Station, and all the supply chain around it. And we are confident that there is enough demand to hangar very high value aircraft up to the Boeing business jet you see there, and you see the Boeing logo prominently for a reason. Across the street here, you have Boeing's commercial space crew headquarters, moved from Seattle to here about 8 years ago. And that trend is growing. So I could talk for hours. We've done a lot of work to decide on this investment, and it's a demand pool that we think is there. It has to do with this commercial space industry. Hello.
Is our infrastructure set up to carry heavier planes like that?
Well, they're going to have to get into their engineering to determine it. I'm sure that concrete ramp can accommodate what they're wanting to do. But once they get Mark Jansen on it, who's a aviation engineer, they'll be able to absolutely tell what can accommodate and what will work over there.
We looked up to narrow body Airbus corporate jet and Boeing business jet, and what we found on the dual wheel weight up to 225,000 pounds what you have in fits. Now moving up to larger aircraft, maybe we have to do more analysis, but for the client base we're looking at, which is up to Boeing business jet aircraft and down to Gulfstream 650, Global Express, I think what you have is more than enough.
What's our runway maximum?
We can accommodate everything that's up on the slide, narrow body. They just need to take a closer look at that right now.
I think maybe the taxiways too,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
The 7-2 was based here, is on the east side the whole time.
Fringe. But it's a good project and we're really looking forward to it, private investment into the airport. So, we don't continue to own everything. So diversification of our revenues, I think it's a good project. So we'll be back hopefully next month with the ground lease for consideration.
Any other questions?
With this level of assets being on our airport, very expensive assets, I might add, beautiful aircraft. Do we see any changes to our security protocols on our gates or anything like that, that this will drive the airport authority to have to invest in?
I think that's actually going to be looked at in our master plan. There's a kind of safety and security component of it. But I mean, the airport's completely fenced already. We'll probably have to look at, maybe some different access controls, some sort of improvements to it.
It's being looked at.
Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
I think it's exciting as heck to see something like this happening. I think we need to start thinking ahead. We're gonna bring all these people in, very high priced. Where's our welcoming center?
Mhm.
You know,
Where's our restaurant?
Where's our restaurant? I really think, as we forward, we ought to have some place for these people to get off the airplane to go into over there.
Yeah, that's being discussed. Definitely some improvements to the West Side FBO.
We got the almost richest man in the world coming in.
You have a few of those coming off them here. And just, we met with Carson and Wendy as well a few months ago. We've been talking, we'll be very, very happy to discuss how we can synergize the investments with neighbors. Now, without the FBO, this project would not be, you cannot have a standalone hangar of this caliber without a FBO next to it.
So everything's being looked at on the west side? There's none of these happening on the east side?
So this is their first phase of development.
Three.
Yeah,
So I saw it really on this side.
Area 3.
I think what I'm calling phase one is probably the path of least resistance. We're able to tie into existing infrastructure and everything else is over there. And as they kind of get their footprint and start moving forward in marketing, they'll move into other areas. But we just wanted to start with a phase one. We wanted for you all to get to know this group as well. I've known Oscar for 15 years, but you guys don't know him, so.
And we're still friends.
I'm on the fence.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for the time. Thank you, Bruno, Philip, Steve, and Dave. I appreciate that you were able to come remotely, and next month, hopefully you are here in person to sign the lease.
Thank you, Oscar.
Thank you.
All right. Brings us to item H, ongoing business.
Nothing under there, Mr. Chair.
And so that brings us to attorney's report.
Thank you. Not a ton to report. Ongoing discussions with Wells Fargo. I've identified a list of documents I'd like to obtain from them. Christie has been very helpful in providing us the documents that we do have. We still don't have full account services. It's actually called treasury services agreement or something. So I'm working on getting that. The other thing, one of the issues you may recall was that they caught the fraudster by asking for identification, and the question came up, well, why hadn't they asked for any beforehand? It looks like most of the checks prior to that one were for deposit, rather than there being someone looking to cash a check. I'm trying to confirm that with them. So we're looking to get copies of all of the checks that were negotiated, actual copies of the checks that we can get them from Wells Fargo, so we can see how they were negotiated, what they look like. And so essentially investigation remains ongoing. You know, I don't know that we're gonna get to a place where they're gonna want to do anything about it, but I think that's the avenue we have to explore until we decide what next steps are. So we'll continue to do that, and I will hopefully have more information from the board in January.
But the documents were all fraudulent, and they had the responsibility to verify them before paying.
I mean, generally speaking, yes. So when you're floating into negligence, if that's where we end up, whether they discharge their duty, you know, reasonably or negligently, that's just a component of it. The other part, and this is where we need to be more cautious, is what are the documents saying? So if there was an onus on us to do certain things, for example, I know that Chrissy's had this discussion with them as well. They offer products for certain security measures that have a cost that may not be, you know, excessive cost, but there's a cost associated with it. So if you, one of the things they've told us is if you didn't have that product, if you had this particular product that was an e-verify, where you provide a list of the checks that you're issuing, you know, at or before the time you issue them, so we can double check when they come in. Of course, all those things have a cost associated with it. So my position on that is, well, you don't get to, you know, issue your reasonable responsibility simply because you have a product that causes you to be more careful or take additional steps. So we've got to parse through the documents, because I mean, ultimately, the strength or weakness in our case, you know, kind of rises and falls on the documents, and that's where we live right now, where we're trying to get those documents.
TD Bank reimbursed us for our fraudulent checks, and there wasn't any question about it. It was reimbursement. And that's what I would expect. But guess we'll find out.
Still waiting on our reimbursement.
All right.
And it's Welch, all cleaned up.
It's done. Our window to make payment, we're still within. So I think that's.
We're gonna wait after the first of the year to,
Yeah, cases are all dismissed and settled, closed, appeals dismissed. I think the last pieces are just payment and then arranging for retrieval of our lighted exits. And that will be the end.
And we don't get any more costs because we wait until after the first of the year.
Not in the litigation, no. We bargained for that term. That was in our settlement. So there's no, we're not in breach. It's just we give ourselves
Additional interest as well.
No. Settlement agreement is a fixed amount. Good question.
Any other questions? All right. Deputy Director of Finance and Administration report.
For the record, Christina Canora, Deputy Director of Finance and Administration. Does anyone have any questions on the check register? Okay. All right, on our financial software update, as you know, we went live with QuickBooks on October 1st. We've been processing payables and receivables through QuickBooks, and it has been a great experience. And then I'll lead into the preliminary October 22 financials. We had hoped to have those ready, but due to some delays from some of our vendors with our projects, has cost us quite a considerable amount of time in finalizing our numbers for 9/30. In fact, I received a phone call just this afternoon, which is going to change our numbers again. We have moved 9/30 numbers over to QuickBooks, and we're in the process of implementing, you know, we have to clean up accounts payables, accrued payables, receivables, make sure everything is not duplicate. So with all of these changes and it being very fluid with some of the 9/30 balances, I cannot give you financials, even preliminary financials at this point. But as soon as we are waiting now on one more invoice from a vendor, which is a considerable amount. We are waiting on another invoice from a vendor, which is a considerable amount. Once we get that entered, we're hoping that will be the last of the corrections and from vendors for their invoices, and we'll be able to issue the financial statements.
So these invoices are invoices that are going to be dated 9/30 and we still haven't received them yet.
They're not necessarily dated 9/30. We actually have received invoices in December that are dated December, but they are for work performed prior to 9:30. So you have to accrue those because we're no longer on cash basis. You know, that's part of what we did this year. We converted from cash basis to accrual basis. And with doing that, you have to make sure that you have everything in. And although we reach out to our vendors, because majority of it's going to be regarding our projects, they supplied some invoices. I mentioned last board meeting, that we were due some from a particular vendor, and we received them, but unfortunately, during the last couple of weeks, we've had to send some of them back because they were even incorrect. So it's been an ongoing process. And unfortunately, when that happens with day-to-day activities, it costs a lot of time. And so, but as far as implementation goes, it's going very well. And we're just trying to get it to where it needs to be so that we can provide the financials. And as soon as we can do that, we will provide them to you.
What about our receivables? Is it part of these invoices get them by 9:30 so we can get the reimbursements?
Well, once we pay the invoices, we will have to seek reimbursement, and some of it will be for 9:30 work. So you're right. It not only touches our payables, it touches our receivables, it touches our retainage. You know, the list goes on to how many items it affects us. So, and each time we have to touch it, it's delaying our information and schedules that we're preparing for auditors in January to be redone.
So what's our problem? We just have vendors that don't do what they're supposed to do and get their invoices in. Is that the problem?
Yes, we've had an issue ongoing since I've been here with a particular vendor. And I know they were having some issues internally, and changes have been made. So they're trying to clean up all the pieces, and unfortunately it's caused a delay.
Unfortunately, it costs us.
Right.
Who's the vendor?
Exactly. Michael Baker.
Just kind of looking in from the outside, we've spent a lot of money on equipment and cars, and we've taken some terrible hits. How's our cash position?
Our cash position, we still, so we have I need to explain it because we have a reserve or funds that what is it that I'm trying to look for? I can't think of it right now. Restricted, thank you. We have restricted funds that were from the sale of property that Arthur done. And until we can clear that, because they have to find out how we acquired the property, then those funds are restricted. So we're just barely above the line with the restricted funds and the escrow, and then between waiting for money back. It's been so fluid right now. Cash wise, we have the cash, we're okay. But as far as actual number where we are, again, I don't have it with all of our accruals if you're seeking, on that.
Who's working on the problem of getting this funds released?
Well, it's going to, my understanding, through the master plan, we should be able to have that released. I don't know if there's
There's
another
what's
method
called
that
an
we could do.
exhibit A property map, where they go and they look at all the properties that have been sold over a period of time, and you have to have that updated, and it has been updated in a long time. And the grants and the files that have been here over the years have not been really kept up to date, so it's been a process. And then
Working on it.
we are internally, and then again, it's part of the master plan process. So the consultant will help us with it. And just as Christie indicated, everything keeps coming in while you're trying to work on X, Y, and Z. So it just takes some time.
So that money won't be released until April or May.
It could be. It could be.
And that's how much money is that?
It's
500,000?
1.3 million.
But it's there.
It is there.
No, what's the balance on our line of credit?
Right, credit. credit.
We have a line of credit.
But we haven't
Oh,
drawn
line of
anything
credit.
down.
We're still at zero with
Yes,
this.
sir.
And that line of credit is a $1.5 million line of credit.
Yes.
At least so.
And you don't anticipate any cash problems in the next few.
No, we will be using the line of credit to pay for the claim because we don't want to use our operating funds for that right now. So due to the 1.3 being restricted, I have to watch the cash and make sure that we handle it properly, that I don't foresee any cash issues at this time.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
Authority members reports. Roger?
No report.
Al?
No, I'm good. We just need to do battery for the clock.
Time is slowed down. There's one more time in life.
That's what I'm
Not given to
saying.
you.
It's speed up.
Kevin, I guess you've already been there. Merry Christmas. I don't have anything. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody.
Anybody from the public? Anybody from the
Yeah,
public?
we will. Well, not there.
Brad,
Okay, public comments.
Brad.
Oh, Brad. Can you hear us, Brad?
He's a little under the weather today.
Okay. Well, we hope you get the feeling better. All right, any public comments? No public comments, we will adjourn.
Don White. Stairs and Twister.
Okay. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Man, have a little party. All right, all right. Let us all come see it.
You provide the security, right?
No, that's the fence, our rusted out fence. There's no issue.